Hello everyone, Elyskye here. Anaxa, the newest sub-DPS has just been released. Is he just another Jiaoqiu that is stuck to Acheron? Will he equally be glued to the Herta? Well, the short answer is no. He is more than just a partner for the Herta, and let me tell you why he is good and what are the problems that he might have. Similar to Castorice, he is a bounce type DPS or sub DPS. But no, not just bounce, okay? Not just bounce, special bounce. So what is this special bounce that I'm talking about? First, let's look at his skill. Prioritizes targets that have not been bounced to. You know what this means? He can be both AoE and single target, and can be fairly good at both. Normal bounces are RNG on who the attack bounces to, but this special bounce guarantees to hit every target on the field at least once. And then, well, he has average damage in AoE because of the low multipliers, but that's fine. For AoE, you usually glue him to the Herta anyway. Outside of AoE, he kind of gets stronger the less targets there are on field due to bounce. And because of bounce, he can stack the interpretation much better for the Herta when it's a single target scenario. What about on his own? Pretty good hyper carry, I would say. Because of the multi-instance hits from his bounce attack, he can trigger RMC true damage multiple times because it's based on how many instances of damage, surpassing how much an E1 3B would provide in a single target scenario. Because the E1 is much weaker, the less targets there are. This brings us to the next thing, his weakness implant. Very useful, yes. 7 weaknesses. What? That's basically every weakness in the game. You never have to worry again. You know, you don't need to worry about on element, you don't need to put firefly to implant, you know. Wrong. I talked about this in the castorice video. While you can get the weakness, you do not get the rest down unless you are Silver Wolf. So all you get is the ability to reduce toughness bars. The ability to always be on element to reduce toughness. This means that he can break any monster regardless of element because he can simply just give every element. And with 5 hits of bounce, high toughness damage, which is excellent for super break. But let's say I have Fugue, and then Fugue can just let me ignore the toughness, correct? Yes, at the cost of 50% discount. Great, right? No. You are losing 50% toughness. What? The enemy gets the discount off you. So you implant with Anaxa, and you can reduce normally. Now what about his weaknesses? Not weakness implant as we just talked about, but his weakness, you know, pros and cons, strengths and weaknesses. Well, the most obvious ones are, there are 2 things. Low attack. He gets so much damage bonus in his kit with almost no attack sources. In fact, I'm looking through his kit right now and I don't see any way for him to gain attack in his kit. Not even his light code. Okay, basically you see here his traces, right? HP, HP, wind damage, wind damage, wind damage, wind damage, wind damage. Everything is damage. And then you see there's no attack here. It just increase damage. Damage. Everything is damage. He has no way to increase his attack, see? Damage. Damage. Ignore defense. Energy. Even his light cone has no damage. I mean, has no attack, see? Damage again. So basically, he has no way to increase this attack. Basically, the solution to this is you just put him with an attack buffer like Robin. And she can provide one of the best, if not the best amplification for Anaxa, due to him having basically no attack sources. Another alternative for this is Tingyun. Tingyun can also provide him the energy so that he can out quicker. And at the same time, she also provides the attack. So it's kind of like a budget Robin for Anaxa. The second thing is his actual AoE users. Okay, earlier I talked about him being, you know, pretty good in AoE, but actually not so good. So it's like, what am I talking? Am I just like talking crap? Because his special bounce will always prioritize a different target. Each target usually gets hit only once, especially in a mode like Pure Fiction. One single instance is pretty weak. His multipliers for a single hit is very low, about 70%. But don't forget, he can trigger his skill twice, so 140%. And that's not all. If we look at the rest of his skill, for each attackable enemy on the field, plus 20% damage. And that's where he recovers in AoE. We do have a tiny problem in AoE content, especially in Pure Fiction. By the time you stack the 5 weakness, which is required to let him use the skill twice, the mobs are probably already dead. At least, that's the problem in the first wave. In the second or third wave, you can probably hold these 5 weaknesses on the center boss so that you can always use your double skill. And because his ultimate is fairly easy to charge, about 2 to 3 turns if you skill twice always, or if you're holding an ear rope is guaranteed 2 turns, he shouldn't have a problem holding this 5 weakness on the center boss. So what does this mean? Using him as a soul carry for AoE content is still fairly good, but I'm not sure if it will outperform other great erudition characters such as Jade or even their other partner, the Herta. Jade might still pull ahead, especially if Debt Collector was on 3B as she attacks more often. Or even like Jade Lingsha, which is a pretty insane combo. But the great thing about Anaxa is him having excellent buffs such as the team-wide damage bonus on one of his tracers, whereas Jade doesn't buff anything useful for damage. I believe she only gives like the 30 speed and a little bit of quantum damage. So if there's any difference, it's really close. In conclusion, with so many options, Anaxagoras himself, thankfully, he does not suffer the same fate as our pink Foxian Jiaoqiu. Being viable, both as a sub DPS, a hyper carry in various team comps, and he's even pretty good at zero cycling off element. His weaknesses aren't the end of this world. Okay, it lists like two weaknesses that he had earlier. He can get through most of them, such as running Robin or even Ting Yun to fix his attack, or just running with another erudition for Pure Fiction. Overall, he is a solid character, and I think he's an excellent addition to this game. And I also would like to add that this should have been how they designed the kit for partners of our playable Emanators. You know, they should not be locking him to just be viable with the Emanator. They should make him, like Anaxa, good on his own as well. Not that he has to be very good, he just needs to be viable. Looking forward to do many more exciting runs with Anaxa. That is all for this video. Thank you for taking your time to watch it. Take care and have a great day. Bye bye.